Alright, it's another winter storm for the Mahoning and Shenango valleys and just about all of Ohio and western Pennsylvania for that matter. Hey everyone, it's Eric here with Weather for Weather Geeks on this Wednesday evening. This will be the most detailed weather forecast video that you're going to find anywhere on the internet for our region specifically, and yeah, no shortage of things to discuss, so let's get to it. First, I wanted to show one of our cameras this evening because it's raining. We've been in the deep freeze for so long that we haven't had just a rainy evening for some time, but yeah, we've had rain for a few hours now. Temperatures and dew point temperatures staying above the freezing, leading to just plain old rain, liquid precipitation for the time being, but that of course will change. As of this recording at 7:05 p.m., it was raining just about everywhere in our television viewing area. Most of this light to at times moderate, but the big story, of course, is when we zoom out and take a look at the region as a whole. This may take a minute to catch up as far as displaying the precipitation types, but yeah, of course, so we have mixed precipitation and snow falling out here. Let me bring up a different radar source so this actually looks correct color-wise. There we go. Yeah, the blue, of course, is snow. We're seeing mixed precipitation in some of the areas around Indianapolis and heading up towards Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I-71, which runs, of course, kind of southwest to northeast through Ohio, that's the corridor that the changeover will occur in a few hours, and that means it's still going to be a handful of hours before that changeover occurs around northeast Ohio and western PA. All right, we have very cold air running into relatively warm and moist air, and so this is a strong front that's pushing east, and a big, burly area of high pressure is centered out here across the northern Rockies. Pure Arctic air with this high pressure zone pressing to the south. Now, cold Arctic air is very dense. It's like molasses, and it undercuts that warmer, more moisture-laden air, cuts underneath it. That warm, moist air is definitely more, it's lighter, it's more buoyant, and so the dense stuff gets underneath it, and that causes uplift and precipitation. And when you have a kind of setup where the air at the ground is much colder than the air upstairs in the atmosphere, you have a recipe for things other than just rain and just snow. Somewhere in between is where we will find ourselves for a lot of the next 24 hours or so. Look how extensive the winter storm warnings are this evening, running from parts of Maine all the way to Texas. In fact, let me see if I can grab my ruler tool here and show you how much real estate is covered by winter storm warnings this evening. Close to 2,000 miles. Look at that. That is impressive stuff. 1,926 miles worth of winter storm warnings, and we have ice storm warnings out for the lower Ohio River Valley, the mid-Mississippi Valley, and it's not often that you see the entire state of Ohio covered by a winter storm warning. Every county, 88 counties in Ohio, and every one is under a winter storm warning. The western tier of counties in Pennsylvania also covered by that winter storm warning. So yes, if you can watch us on TV, cable and satellite, antenna, if you can get us that way, then you are under a winter storm warning this evening. All right, so how are things going to play out? Not much has changed as far as our thinking with the timing overall. This is rain for the next handful of hours. The changeover to a period of freezing rain, sleet, snow, it waits until after midnight, and then from northwest to southeast, that mixing line will sink. A lot of this pink that you see here, this will be rain that's falling into air that is dropping below freezing. So for some of this will be freezing rain. As you get farther to the north, you'll run into more sleet for a time at 2 or 3 in the morning, probably up towards Warren and Vienna and maybe Sharon. That's probably a little more sleet than freezing rain at about 3:30 a.m. Then once you're far enough to the north, it's probably almost pure snow. Bloomfield, Mesopotamia, Kinsman, maybe Greenville. Again, this is just a snapshot in time when most of us are asleep and not out on the roads. What about tomorrow morning? Of course, just about every school in the region is canceled for tomorrow, but if you have to head to work in the morning, if you work the midnight shift tonight, you'll be heading home from work in the morning. Again, just sort of a snapshot here at 7 a.m. I would expect a mix of sleet and freezing rain in a lot of areas. South of 224, south of Route 62, close to Route 30, and down towards the Ohio River. As you get up into the Youngstown and 224 corridor and over towards Sharon, West Middlesex, Hubbard, Hermitage, and up towards Vienna, and maybe even Warren, this is probably wet snow with some sleet mixed in. And then again, snapshot in time, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Once you're up towards Southington, Kinsman area, Johnston, Greenville, Sandy Lake, it's probably more snow than anything, maybe a little bit of sleet still mixed in. Now, what I I've been trying to do today is temper expectations a little bit as far as what people are going to get up and see out their door or out their window tomorrow morning, because this is a major winter storm. Most people who are maybe only paying passing attention to the weather think that that means all snow, and they're going to wake up tomorrow morning and look outside and not see any snow, fresh snow on the ground. Hey, where's this winter storm? This was hype for nothing. Well, again, unless you're in northern Trumbull, northern Mercer, tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, it's the sleet and the freezing rain that'll be an issue. This is a snapshot of, or a model depiction of the rolling snow accumulations for around Youngstown, so kind of right in the middle of our viewing area. So this is not valid for East Liverpool. It's not necessarily valid for Mesopotamia, Southington, maybe even Warren, but kind of the middle of our viewing area, Youngstown, Boardman, Canfield, etc., etc. You know, fresh snow accumulations by even 10 a.m. might not be much more than an inch because of all the sleet and for a time freezing rain. But you'll notice those accumulations really start ramping up in earnest later in the day and into tomorrow night. For a lot of our TV viewing area, the show in terms of snow, it's going to take a while. I mean, it may be until very late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening and even into the overnight before the snow accumulates efficiently at all. So, as we go into the midday and afternoon tomorrow, I am concerned about prolonged icing. Once you're southeast of Lisbon, especially, West Point down towards Calcutta, Glenmore, Laycroft, East Liverpool, even up towards Rogers, Nagley, East Palestine, maybe over towards Salineville, kind of this zone, that's where you have the highest chance of problematic freezing rain. It's more of a sleet issue as you get up closer to Youngstown, and then again, by midday tomorrow, we're probably not seeing much more than just snow from, I-80 on north, or maybe up towards the Route 87 corridor in Trumbull County, northwestern Mercer as well. And not much is going to change through the afternoon. The same places that will see sleet and snow kind of mixed are going to continue to see it through at least mid-afternoon. Then finally, late in the afternoon into the evening, from north to south, the air mass above our heads, the air column above our heads will cool enough that we'll finally start ditching the mixed precipitation and just see snow. So by sunset tomorrow evening, we can still see some sleet probably mixed in for a time. Route 30 and south in Columbiana County, and maybe over towards Beaver Falls, Elwood City, and maybe even Newcastle. But it's probably just snowing for the rest of us by about sunset tomorrow evening. And then by late tomorrow night, even East Liverpool will see nothing but snow late at night as the air mass finally cools. The snow will take a while to taper off. It's going to snow most of tomorrow night, so the roads are still going to be very tricky Friday morning. The snow tapers off early, and that's just cloudy for the rest of the day. And we'll start Saturday with clouds, but I expect a fair amount of sunshine by Saturday afternoon. All right, let's talk snow accumulations. Here's a look at our model spread for, again, kind of the middle of our viewing area. You can think of this as kind of Girard, Mineral Ridge, Youngstown, Hubbard, Canfield, Boardman, Struthers, Poland, even over towards Salem, Ellsworth, places like that, kind of right in the middle of our viewing area. A lot of Mahoning County, extreme southern Trumbull County, extreme southern Mercer County, extreme northern Columbiana County. That's what I think of when I think kind of just the middle of our viewing area. Each colored line is a different model. You can see that, the models are in pretty good agreement now for the middle of our viewing area with some pretty hefty totals here, 9 inches plus. Why doesn't our forecast necessarily reflect this just yet? Our forecast is a little more conservative than some of these models. Our forecast for the middle of our viewing area is closer to the bottom end of this spread you see on the modeling. The reason for that, the chance of prolonged mixed precipitation. That's why we're kind of on the conservative end at this point. Could some of these higher totals take place? Yes, especially north of Interstate 80. I think that is a possibility. But, I've been burned too many times by underestimating sleet and what it can do to a snow forecast. And because we can't dismiss the possibility that sleet's going to stay mixed in into the mid-afternoon hours, that doesn't leave much time for those really lofty snow accumulations to occur. It would have to really snow hard for many hours at a time, or many hours in a row, I should say, in order for some of those high-end numbers to be achieved. It's not a 0% chance. It's just probably, at this point, not the most likely scenario. So here's our snow map put out yesterday at first, and then continuing into today. I mentioned this on social media earlier today. One of the sentiments I hear around snow events, because people see different sources. They're flipping channels, they're following all sorts of stuff on Facebook, they're looking at different apps, and they see all sorts of numbers. A lot of TV stations, a lot of different sources throw out a ton of numbers at you, and I understand why it can get kind of confusing. Our numbers haven't changed, and we try to change our numbers as few times as possible. We shift around the areas, but the numbers themselves have not changed since yesterday. The trend since yesterday, yes, we've increased the snow totals farther to the south with lower chances of prolonged freezing rain. That means more snow and sleet, and that means that we can see 6 to 9 inches, again, pretty easily, middle of our viewing area, up into Mercer County. And if we see double-digit amounts, right now I think it's most likely, say, from Southington on north towards the Ashtabula line, towards the Geauga line. Could we still play with this a little? Yes, and of course we'll be keeping a keen eye on the latest trends tonight into tomorrow morning. 3 to 6 seems like a good bet for most of Columbiana County, most of Lawrence County. And once you're right near the Ohio River, right down towards East Liverpool, because again, the mixing lasts the longest down there, you might be hard-pressed to see more than 3 down there. If you pick up to 3, it's going to be at the last minute. It's going to be late Thursday night into early Friday morning. Best chance for heavy amounts of ice, southeast Ohio, southwestern Pennsylvania. Ice accretion numbers around here, this will be problematic, but it's probably not enough to cause just a huge problem with power outages. The ice weighing down tree limbs and power lines. I'm not super concerned about that in our TV viewing area, but south of, say, Route 62, and especially south of Route 30, yeah, could you see 0.2 of an inch of ice accretion? Yeah, and again, that's going to be problematic. At the very least, that's going to make everything just really, really slippery. And so when we think of an ice severity index, when you have 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of ice and wind speeds of 15 to 25 miles per hour, the wind speeds are important. That gives you kind of a 1 on a 0 to 5 scale on the ice severity index. Isolated utility interruptions, possible, again, especially down towards East Liverpool. Roads and bridges, especially bridges, because they tend to be quite a bit colder, yeah, they can be pretty problematic. And so, yeah, we're going to have our travel issues through Friday morning. Everybody knows tomorrow is going to be tough, mostly in the morning because of sleet and freezing rain, but it's tomorrow night's snow that makes Friday morning especially problematic. In addition, underneath the snow, all the slush and the meltwater, and in areas that see a lot of sleet, that's going to make things really slushy for a time. All that's going to freeze solid. And so, yeah, surfaces are still going to be really slick Friday morning. Things will improve Friday afternoon, and no problems for the upcoming weekend. Actually, a pretty benign pattern ahead of us next week, 6 to 10 day outlook. Very little precipitation, it looks like, next week. So your humble weather guy and my colleagues in the weather enterprise will get a chance to breathe a little bit next week. It's not going to be very warm, but hey, we'll see some sun, and we won't see any big winter storms, it looks like, for next week. All right, we're over 12 minutes tonight. Thanks for watching this long edition, very detailed edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. I will have more updates throughout the evening on social, the Storm Tracker 21 app, and we'll have everything else you need to know tonight at 11 o'clock, 21 News. Hope to see you.